So we're in July and I just realized I haven't actually officially reviewed any 2023 releases yet. But that's going to change with this video, because today we're going to talk about No Hard Feelings. This movie came out fairly recently, so I'm going to avoid spoilers in this video so you have an opportunity to go see it. I'm just going to give an outline of the general premise and go over some things that worked for me and some things that didn't work for me. So what is the premise of this movie? Essentially, Jennifer Lawrence plays a 32-year-old Uber driver named Maddie. She's from Montauk and has lived there her whole life. She inherits a house from her mother, but is at risk of losing it after not being able to pay the property taxes on it, and her car also gets repossessed. So she accepts a Craigslist ad to help bring a couple's 19-year-old teen named Percy out of his shell before he goes to college, and date him, if you get the drift. And that's pretty much the premise of this movie. She tries to date him in order to get the car so she could drive for Uber and save the house. So what do I like about this movie? For one, the performances. I think if you're a Jennifer Lawrence fan, you're gonna get everything you want out of her in this movie. This genre of cringe/raunch comedy is relatively new to Jennifer Lawrence, but I thought she did a good job with her actual physical acting. For example, when she first meets Percy at the animal shelter. There's also a pretty awesome scene when they're at the beach, but I'm not going to say more than that. They do a good job of playing to her strengths, and she has a really good chemistry with Andrew Barth Feldman, who plays Percy. But honestly, Andrew is the star of this movie, and in a lot of scenes he actually does outshine Jennifer Lawrence. I did notice something about how he chose to play his character, and I even mentioned this to the friends I went to see this movie with. But I noticed he acted a lot like Linguini from Ratatouille, and yeah. He played Linguini in the TikTok adaptation of Ratatouille, and he actually does sing in this movie, and he has a really nice voice.
This I guarantee, and though I can't cook yet, I take a bet that I can cook.
I do like how there is genuine character development from both of the main characters. We see their relationship develop and we see them grow as people outside of the relationship. Given the premise of the movie, you could call this movie predictable, but predictable is okay if the movie is well executed, and I do think this movie is executed fairly well. From a technical standpoint, the movie looks pretty good. The cinematography and editing were both fine. With that said, in some cases the way the movie is shot does lend to it being funnier than it's supposed to be, particularly in the scenes where the movie is more serious. There's this one scene where Maddie and Percy are talking about some deep stuff, but just the way it's shot is really funny. Me and my friends were dying laughing, and we were the only ones laughing in the theater, so maybe it's a me issue. But it was hard to take the movie seriously when it did try to get serious. And I think that does speak to the fact that the movie is actually pretty funny. Tonally speaking, the emotional scenes did fit into the flow of the movie, but in some regards I wish it played more into the comedy. I think there are certain scenes that aren't played up for laughs that probably could have been, that would have shortened the movie a bit without actually changing the plot or subsequent scenes. I mentioned how Percy sings in this movie. We're gonna get into light spoiler territory here, so pause the video and skip to the timestamp below if you want no spoilers at all. So basically in this scene, they're at this pretty fancy restaurant. There's a piano, and after someone finishes playing, Maddie encourages Percy to go up. Percy not only plays, but sings, and I think there would have been at least one person in the restaurant who might react negatively to somebody belting out a tune in the middle of dinner. It would have been funny to see him get cut off, and it wouldn't really change the scene.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It also would have trimmed off some time because we don't really need to see him perform the whole song. I also think the climax of the movie felt a little rushed. It would have been nice to see this one particular scene play out slightly differently. I felt it was a little short, and I think it could have been played up a little more. And while I do think the ending is fitting based on the character development we're shown, I don't necessarily think the steps to get there would have led to that particular ending. The movie also tried to balance being a cringe, raunch, and rom-com, and I kind of wish it had leaned in one direction, because I think the movie had a lot of potential. It isn't as raunchy as a movie like American Pie or Porky's. I would argue Camp Rock is more cringy, and it isn't a true rom-com. I think the movie just needed a little more commitment to one direction. The movie has some pacing issues. I'm not sure this movie really needed to be an hour and 40, and I do want to address one particular criticism that people have had with this movie, and that's in regards to the perception of a woman grooming a 19-year-old. I think that criticism is largely misguided. At no point in the movie are they really condoning the behavior, and multiple characters do point out the age gap between Maddie and Percy. There's one particular scene that does show Maddie's growth as a person, and I think it does help dispel this notion that she's a groomer. I don't want to spoil the scene, but I'll say she makes a good decision on a moral level. I think a movie you could compare this movie to is Licorice Pizza in some ways. In both movies, you have an older female character who is immature for her age pursue a younger male character. Their motivations are different, and there are pretty significant differences between Gary and Licorice Pizza and Percy and No Hard Feelings. However, in both movies we do see both female leads figure themselves out and figure out what they want. I guess this is just a plug for Licorice Pizza. Overall, this is a really solid summer comedy. I can definitely see myself revisiting this movie, and I would encourage all of you to go see it in theaters while you still can. So with that, let's give No Hard Feelings a 7 out of 10. And that about wraps up this video. Leave a comment down below giving your thoughts on what video you might want to see next. This has been the MeloTime Movie Hour. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe.
Hey, little buddy. I can't cook, can I? But you can, right? Don't be so modest, you're a rat for Pete's sake. Whatever you did, they liked it. Do you think you could teach me to do it again?